in person. Today he's got a sick kid, so we're letting him call in from an undisclosed bunker. Good morning, Scott Faughn.
Good morning. It is a bunker you could disclose because no one would want to come to this sick haven.
All right, fair enough.
You could get sick talking on the phone to me. That's how it is here.
All right, fair enough. Let's talk the speech yesterday. What did he say? What did you take away from it?
I think he did everything he could to make it a new approach to Missouri. It was just we kind of had some East Coast political norms. You had a really aggressive attack style politics. I think Mike Parson did everything he possibly could last night to kind of pivot back to more Midwestern style. If you like state government or you don't like state government, you change it at the ballot box. And I think he made a point to say, hey, the folks that got duly elected, we're going to work together. I think from a policy standpoint, I didn't hear one policy he plans to change from Eric Greitens, which was pretty much the boilerplate Republican issues. But the style, the tone he set, completely different.
The last two governors, Governor Nixon and Governor Greitens, found it remarkable that the elected officials, the senators, the congressmen, all said that they had a go-it-alone style, right? Luetkemeyer says he's met with his current governor more than he met with Greitens, which seems almost impossible to even fathom.
Well, I mean, there was a couple things that I think were true about Eric Greitens. And I also think when we say this, keep in mind he did win the election, but his status was everybody in politics is bad, everybody's corrupt, he accused him of everything but tying people up in his basement. If you were elected, you were bad. He was good. He was the only good one. They were all bad. I think kind of the long story short of the matter is Parson has pretty much the opposite theory. If you've been elected, he'll work with you, and then there'll be time for elections and fight, Republican, Democrat in the fall. Eric Greitens did not like Blaine Luetkemeyer. He did not respect him. He thought he was terrible. I mean, the letter he sent to Roy Blunt saying the last thing we need is more worthless, corrupt career politicians. I think Eric Greitens did not like the people like Blaine Luetkemeyer. So if you like Blaine Luetkemeyer, you probably had a governor that didn't 2 weeks ago, and today you do.
Yeah, which is interesting because, you might disagree with Blaine Luetkemeyer on a policy issue, but I don't see why another Republican would be so hostile to someone like Blaine Luetkemeyer.
Yeah, I mean, there is in every political party, heck, at every dinner table, at Thanksgiving, you have that uncle you don't like. Blaine Luetkemeyer is like one of the most stable, solid, honorable people you're going to find. Democrats, Republicans, whatever. He says where he's at on issues. He's thoughtful. The fact, I'll just say this, if you can't get along with Blaine Luetkemeyer, I will venture the guess it's probably you, not him.
Right. That just seems like an odd person to sort of pick a fight with. Of all the people you want to fight with, that just doesn't seem like the person you'd want to pick a fight with. It doesn't make any sense. It's like
he's probably smarter than you, yeah.
Well, it's like picking a fight with the Easter Bunny, right? Okay, you don't believe in, the Tooth Fairy, but you don't want to pick a fight with the Tooth Fairy. It just doesn't make any sense.
And I think you've shown. It's like Ann Wagner. He had shown a lot of disrespect. But when he got in trouble on an issue with women, he was trying to call her, and she never quite had time to meet with him. I think it shows.
Yeah.
If you make friends and relationships, they matter.
Did they also vote to disband the special session?
Yeah. But keep in mind, every time they meet, they get mileage to drive there. They get a per diem of $120-something a day. So while they were all there for this speech, they voted to end the special session.
So what does that mean? Does that mean now all of the investigations on Eric Greitens are now over?
Well, I mean, I think you look. There's three possible avenues of that. Anything from state law enforcement, Kim Gardner, the Cole County prosecutor, any state prosecutorial things, as far as I know, anything that's been discussed publicly is over. Part of his plea agreement with the city,
right.
Jean Peters Baker ending hers. Number two, the federal government. Look, if the federal government is investigating Eric Greitens, none of us will know until they make a move, right? I mean, I think their level of secrecy, who knows what they're doing.
Right.
I think I'm a believer that you hear the word FBI investigation so many times. I'm just kind of a believer that I'll believe there's an FBI investigation when I actually have proof of one. So I think you have to assume he's probably not under investigation by the FBI. And then the House committee. The House committee, it's a real question in Jefferson City how much they can subpoena, how much they can investigate, and what they can actually, if the Kim Gardner files a subpoena for bank records, she probably gets them. I think the House has never tried to do things quite like this before. I think what you may find is that this sort of dies down, and it's not just a question of are the Republicans just wanting to talk about anything but Eric Greitens. I think it may be more a question of do they want to test their subpoena power and find out they don't have quite as much power as they'd like.
So a mutual assured destruction, just sort of go away and fight another day.
Well, I just think that they might not have the legal power to fight it. So that's maybe where it comes down.
Scott Faughn, where do we go from here in terms of all of this dark money? If nothing's resolved, a Democrat, a Republican in the future can do the same type of thing in terms of raising money, coordinating with outside campaigns and charity events, hiding money, and we're right back here sometime in the future. Is there any talk about reforming financial disclosures, finances with politicians? Where are we with that?
There has been talk. I think nobody even – it's one of those things. Nobody even thought about doing what Eric Greitens did. It never even really occurred to people to do what he did until he did it. And people were like, you can't do that. And his take was, well, stop me. They finally did for other reasons. But I think, yes, there'll be a move in January to pass legislation to ban maybe not dark money. Like you take a group like a Carl Bearden's United for Missouri. I don't think people are targeting that group. I think when you say dark money, you can lump a lot of people in there. I think they're going to target coordination like Greitens did. But I'll tell you how you stop it is people like you calling it out. If you see another politician doing it, you have to call it out. And I think that's going to be – I'm a believer that most media companies are private companies designed to make money and do whatever, however that makes their money. In this situation, to the extent the media has a public obligation, I think it's partly on the media. When you see candidates doing things with dark money, call it out loudly. And I think when you mention the name Eric Greitens, no future politician will want to be linked with him.
Yeah. Do you think Eric Greitens ever runs again for anything?
I'll give you two predictions. When I talk about the media's responsibility, I've been impressed with Parson, how he's dealt with his responsibility to talk to the media and talk to the public. I will bet you a cold, frosty Budweiser that we're not opening Christmas presents without Mike Parson in your studio talking to you, without anything off, with just whatever you got to talk about.
Right.
I think that is such a refreshing change. And number two, my second one is, I would say by the end of Roy Blunt's term, you have an Eric Greitens running for federal office. That would be my West Butler County hillbilly prediction is, yes, Eric Greitens runs for office again, most likely a federal office. I think that was really where his heart was anyway, with federal issues. I'm not sure that Jeff City left the best taste in his mouth. I think that Eric Greitens will likely seek federal office. It may be a couple cycles, but yes, I do believe by the end of Roy Blunt's term, Eric Greitens will be openly discussing running for a federal office.
Will he be running as a Democrat or a Republican?
My stein of knowledge is pretty good, but I would say 60-40 Republican, but it's Eric Greitens. Who knows?
That is Scott Faughn, publisher of the Missouri Times, the MissouriTimes.com. Also, your show on Sunday, still going strong on ABC 30?
Absolutely, 11 o'clock, right after Stephanopoulos.
Scott Faughn, take care of those kids. Thanks for popping in.
Thank you, sir.
All right, there you go, Scott Faughn.